He was horrified to discover that the hotel was shrinking a little more each night. To test his theory, he tied a rope between two walls. By morning, the rope had sagged. That could only mean one thing. The distance between the walls was getting smaller. He told all the chefs about it, but the terrifying part was, there was no exit to this hotel. The chefs and guests had been living there for 10 years, and no one had ever left. If the building kept shrinking, it was only a matter of time before everyone inside would die. Strangely, no one else seemed to care. Not a single person was concerned. In fact, the chefs even kicked him out of the kitchen. As it turns out, David was a magician scheduled to perform in the nearby town the next day. He had checked into this hotel to spend the night. At the front desk was a man with only one eye. David went to bed early that night, but the next morning, when he tried to leave, he realized he couldn't find an exit, no matter how hard he looked. Just as confusion set in, the pipes began to shake. Then the walls started trembling. A series of small doors opened at the base of the wall. From them, a band stepped out and began walking directly toward David. He turned and walked away, only to bump into a server carrying a tray. The server handed the tray to him.
Hurry up, we haven't got all day. Get in line. Get in line. Okay.
Just like that, David had become one of the hotel's kitchen staff. The chefs all lived in a shared dorm. Though the conditions weren't great, everyone seemed cheerful. They sang, they danced, and even David got swept up in the joy. But that joy was interrupted by a strange creaking sound from the building. David looked around. No one else seemed to hear it. He stepped outside to listen more closely. It sounded like two. Walls pushing inward and the wooden boards straining and cracking under pressure. That's when David had a theory. He stretched his arms, trying to measure the hallway's width, but he couldn't touch both sides at once. He brushed it off as overthinking and headed to the bathroom. David couldn't understand what was being said. Then the vent at the bottom of the door slid open and several hands reached in, trying to grab him. No matter how much he kicked, the hands kept coming until he finally said,
"I'm no one."
Only then did the hands disappear. David returned to the kitchen. He asked Jack where the exit was, but Jack had no idea. He said he'd been working there for 7 years and had never left the hotel. Just then, David spotted a familiar figure, the one-eyed man from the front desk. He rushed after him, but the man vanished.